Hello. Welcome to Tea with the Druid. Lovely to see everyone gathering here and from as far away as Ulster, Aurora, Colorado, Oxfordshire, Temecula, California, blustery County Tipperary, rainy St. Lucia, Bromley in Kent, from Brittany by the Standing Stones, Glastonbury, Bayreuth, fantastic, Northamptonshire, New Hampshire, lovely, Lincolnshire, great, lovely to see you. Well, welcome. Do come into this sacred grove and make yourself at home here. It's lovely to be with you. So, gosh, it's 3 weeks since I did one of these teas, and so much has happened. We've had our incredible summer gathering in Glastonbury. About 400 or so of us spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, some of us 5 or 6 days together, starting off with a wonderful sing-along Wicker Man event on the Thursday night, and then going into the weekend with a big marquee up in the Abbey grounds, and music, dancing, great company. Wonderful to see everybody, particularly since this event was delayed for 2 years. And so we had to come up with a complicated name for what the ceremony we were doing, which was the confirmation of the installation of the new chosen chief, where we confirmed Emer Burke's position. And it was lovely to do that, and to just to be with everybody. So, and then after that, gosh, I was working in Holland for a week, and then have just come back from doing some filming for a tarot course that I'm working on with Steve Handsome, filming in Poole in Dorset, and we stayed in Poole Harbour, and what a lovely magical spot that is, and spent a whole morning yesterday walking on Brownsea Island. If you haven't been to Brownsea Island in Dorset, I can really recommend it. Every hour there's a little boat that shuttles across from Poole Quay, Poole Harbour, across to the island, and it's just magical. It really is a magical spot, really worth visiting. And in this time that I haven't been doing a tea, of course, we've had teas from Matt Baker and Penny Billington. Thank you so much, both of you, for holding the fort and doing wonderful teas. And it's wonderful to know that you and other fellow Druids are there waiting in the wings for any time that I can't do it. So that's really good to know. Lots more people piling in. That's great to see you. And let's just begin by just tuning in and just take a note of how you're feeling, how you're thinking, how you're being, and just let the first thought that pops into your head, just type it out, just to put it out there, to show how you're, and everyone understanding that it can change in a moment. The rather interesting thing is you can say how you're feeling, you type it out or you speak it out in a group, and immediately you feel slightly different, and maybe you feel something else now. So do say how you're feeling. Jet lagged, says somebody. Tired, joyful, hot and relaxed, happy and relaxed, aggravated, dear oh dear. I've just moved to Dorset and will be visiting Brownsea frequently. Hooray. Yes. Oh, great. What a gem it is. Calm, says Ben, but that's because you're on St. Lucia, so I can understand that. Content, happy, confused, feeling better. I'm back with my people now. Whimsical, that's a nice feeling to feel. Open, sad, chilled, optimistic. I feel pain, tired and grateful. I saw an extraordinary statistic the other day that, what was it? Something like a quarter of the population in the UK experiences chronic pain. I mean, that is just incredible statistic. Anxious, about to fire my kiln, so hopefully no explosion. Yes, don't blow up, please. Concerned, a lot to be concerned about at the moment. A mix of feelings, but mostly brain dead. I know that feeling at the end of the day. Oh, I had one of those days today. I thought I was going to do a horrible rant with you, to tell you the truth. I had one of those days where it started off with, trying to sort out some mobile phone account and endless customer services things. And then, you wait forever and then you get cut off, and then a spam call comes through, and you do a whole lot of email. And by the end of today, I was feeling so grumpy. I thought this tea is going to be terrible. I'm going to be horrid to everybody. But I went and sat in the sun and did some qigong and did some prayers and things, and drank lots of water, and I feel better, I have to say. Had some lovely food that Steph made. So, okay, I want to share with you something that's really been triggered by going to Brownsea Island, which I just found so inspiring. When you go to Brownsea, the boat drops you off. It's owned by the National Trust. Beautiful little castle there that's actually owned by the John Lewis Partnership. And if you work for Waitrose, Steph and I want to go and work for Waitrose now, because then you get holidays there, and or John Lewis, and beautiful spot. But the rest of the island is National Trust. Very interesting story about a philanthropic family who ran the island, and it sounded absolutely idyllic towards the beginning of the century, and then an eccentric woman who took it over later on and kind of rewilded it. But she did it in a pretty aggressive way by throwing all the islanders off. 250 people had to leave, and she just lived there virtually on her own and rewilded it. So it's a very odd story. Somebody should write a book about it, I think. Now it's the National Trust. It's very well managed, and you walk, if you take the South Coast Walk, you come up to this land which has sandy and pine trees. Scots pines are growing. Beautiful, those soaring Scots pine, but wonderful specimens. So old, really old and big and tall and strong. And you look out across Poole Harbour, but not towards the built-up, the town of Poole, but the other way, and then further out towards the sea. And at times I felt as if I was in the Mediterranean or in France or something, and all the smell of pine. And this led me to remember a little radio broadcast I heard when I was in Ireland. I was in Ireland for a couple of months in February and March. And I looked it up, and I want to tell you the story of this, and then let's have a meditation together. So the story is really one of rediscovering some ancestry. And those of you who are in the ovate grade will know that that's a big thing for us, is we kind of connect to our ancestry, which can be the bloodline, but it can also be the milk line. And by the milk line, I mean all those, you may not know about your bloodline, for instance, or you may have a difficult relationship with it, but there'll be a milk line through your life and through generations of people who have influenced you in a positive way, who've nourished you, and a line of nourishment. And then, of course, there's ancestry viewed in another sense in terms of previous lives and so on. So it's a very rich field. But what it does is, as you work with it, you rebuild, reconnect with your roots, and the story of who you are, of your deeper identity, is strengthened. And it's always been there. So you're not actually rebuilding it, you're just remembering it, literally remembering it. And this is what has happened in Ireland. Because in Ireland, you have Scots Pines, as we do in England. And these beautiful trees are there in the landscape. But up until recently, people in Ireland had felt that they had come over from Scotland. They'd been planted there from Scotland. And they're called Scots Pines, and that's where they came from. But recently, some scientists based in Trinity College have found what they call a Micro Refugium, a mini refuge. And I'm going to read you a little bit, which I've cobbled together from the Irish Times, from various articles online. And to make sure I get my facts straight, I'm just going to read it to you. It's brief. So it was thought that the native Irish Scots pine, Pinus sylvestris, had become extinct during a massive population decline of these trees throughout Europe about 2,000 years ago. It was replanted from Scottish stock, but an exciting study of a small population in Rock Forest, County Clare, that's a very suitable name, isn't it? Rock Forest, County Clare, has proved that these are original native trees. Now, the Scots pine grows widely through Europe and Asia, extending eastwards from Western Europe right the way across to Russia in the east and Scandinavia in the north, and down to the chain of mountains in the Pyrenees and the Alps, to the Balkans in central Bulgaria. And in the Caledonian pine forests of the Scottish Highlands, the species is the dominant tree, and that's why it's called the Scots pine. But now it's believed that the Scots pine was one of the first trees to colonize Ireland after the last ice age. As a result of climate change, some of the original pine forests were engulfed by peat. But stumps of very old trees have been discovered in County Clare, preserved in bogs. And now a study of a small population in Rock Forest has proved that these are the original native trees. So 1,800 saplings of the almost lost Burren pine, as they're calling it, have now been distributed to County Clare landowners in the latest phase of a new biodiversity initiative. And this initiative is really lovely. It's called the Hares Corner Project. And it aims to help farmers and landowners make a little more space for nature by creating pocket-sized habitats on their land. The Hares Corner is a term inspired by an old farming expression for an awkward section of a field which was not intensively farmed and so was left to nature. You know, the bit where the plough can't get to or the tractor can't quite reach. The Hares Corner, it's where the hare could live because he wouldn't be ravaged by the farm equipment. So what a great idea, the Hares Corner. And it's also, this project, the Hares Corner project, is going to target the creation of 32 ponds, 43 mini orchards, and 38 mini woodlands in its first year. And they want these mini woodlands to feature native Irish pine, the Burren pine. So just for those of us of a Druid bent, we all know that it's often associated with the winter, and in some ways of looking at the Ogham, it's associated with the winter solstice, which those of you in the southern hemisphere will be experiencing this time now. And it's a wonderful symbol of rebirth. There's something about the soaring shape of a Burren pine, an Irish pine, a Scots pine, which lifts the spirits and suggests rebirth and the hope of the new spring ahead. And under the old Druid laws, the Brehon laws, the pine trees were heavily protected, and they were considered lords of the woods, the highest category. There were sort of 4 categories in Brehon law. There were lords of the woods, commoners of the wood, the lower division of the wood, and then bushes of the wood. And then there were punishments if you cut down these different categories of trees. And the punishments were the strongest for if you cut down a lord of the woods, where you had to pay 2 cows and a 3-year-old heifer to the landowner if you cut down a pine. And so not only, I think, is this story lovely in its own right. I mean, it's lovely to hear these stories of rediscovery of native species and of planting projects. But it's beautiful, I think, in a number of ways. One of them, I think, is the idea of the micro refuge, that somewhere on the planet, somewhere in this case in Ireland, they found this little pocket of the Burren pine that somehow hadn't been found before. So in 2022, or possibly last year, I don't know, maybe 21, they discovered this pocket. And to me, that's very symbolic of hope. When we look at the world and we see such devastation, such disaster, such destruction, such loss of habitat, of species, of customs, of languages, of all sorts of things, that to know that when all things seem lost, one can discover these micro refugiums, micro refuges. And maybe if we apply it to our own psyche, our own landscape, there can be times when we can feel barren inside, or it can feel like we've lost everything. All is lost to us. And this story offers this kind of hope that even within the barren landscape of our heart or our soul, perhaps there is this micro refuge, this tiny refuge that is yet to be discovered. And of course, part of the spiritual life and beliefs, one of the core beliefs of spirituality is that indeed within us all is this refuge of the heart, the sanctuary of the self, the sanctuary of the soul that exists, however devastated our inner landscape might be. And then the other thrilling idea, I think, is the idea of the Hare's corner, which is that we can find little spots. I think we all come under pressure to think big, where kind of, I don't know, life encourages us to think big and to be ambitious. And, if we want to help people, we want to help millions of people. And if we want to help the world, we want to help the whole world. And if we want to solve a problem, we want to solve it for everybody. But, we realize that we can't always do that. And the Hare's corner is saying to us, look, even if you've got a small garden, maybe there's a little spot in the corner by the fence, round beside the hut that you're not doing anything with, and maybe there you can make a little micro refuge, a hare's corner. Put a little statue of a hare and plant something there, or plant a Scots pine or an Irish pine. Hare says, my garden is a micro refuge for plants and animals and myself. A hedgehog's corner. Yes. Eliette, I had a tough childhood. All my micro refuges involved a tree and a river. Yes, isn't there something magic about a tree and a river, or tree and water, like on Brownsea Island with these pine trees and then the water of Poole Harbour there. Yeah. Tracy, bits and pieces. Yeah, little bits and pieces here and there. So, a story of hope, and let's go to a micro refuge in our inner landscape now. And if you feel like it, let's just have a meditation together. And if you don't feel like it, just listen and try it later. But let's just become aware of being seated in front of the screen, and just allow ourselves to lower the gaze, or perhaps close our eyes. And we can be fully aware of being seated where we are, and yet at the same time we can be walkers between worlds, and we can allow the enchantment of the apparent world to subside as we become aware of a different reality. Walking up in our imaginations up this sandy track towards the southern slopes of Brownsea Island, or of any island you wish, a magical island, an imagined island. And the soil is sandy and there's gorse growing here and there, and you see these big, big pine trees. They're so majestic and beautiful, and you breathe in the scent of the pines. And as you walk up to one, you see the water ahead of you. You see the cliff, the sandy cliff just dropping down in front of the trees, and then the water of the sea, and then the land in the distance. You're on an island within a pool, within a lagoon. So there's this tremendous feeling of safety and sanctuary in this place. And if it feels right to you, you ask the tree if you might sit beside it, and you tune into the tree and you get a sense of the spirit of the tree. And if the tree lets you, you find that there's a really beautiful spot where you can sit facing the sea, facing the water, cradled by two of the roots that are coming either side of you. Soft, sandy soil. And you lean back against the trunk of the tree. And you close your inner eyes to focus on the perfume of the tree, which you can smell now so strongly, breathing in and breathing out. And you sense the roots of the tree going deep into the soil, deep down into the soil, and you feel all the life in the soil. All the minerals, all the moisture. And you feel how that moisture is feeding the tree. And you become aware now of all the roots and of the way the roots of this tree are connected to all the roots of the other trees too, that they are one community, the mycelium network beneath you. And though each of these pines seems to stand alone because it's so majestic and tall, you know that actually its strength comes from being part of the community of trees on this island. And then you sense the trunk of the tree, and if you like, you can start to merge with the tree. If it feels okay for you, you just sort of merge and become one with the tree. The roots nourishing you, sending moisture up into your trunk. Just a feeling of quiet, peaceful stability. Aware of the branches above, the magnificent pattern of the cones and needles and limbs of this tree. And we'll just sit in silence for a little while. And you focus on your breathing, just breathing in and breathing out, and just allowing the tree to nourish you, to bring you whatever you need at this moment. And as you breathe in and breathe out, you just receive the magic and the medicine of this tree, which may come to you just in a very subtle feeling, in a sense of knowing, or perhaps in a message that's conveyed to you. Maybe just an increasing sense of comfort and ease. And you know that as you breathe out, you can let all your troubles and tensions just drop away into the roots, into the soil below, just letting go of them. Breathing in the invigorating smell of pine. And now you gently separate in your awareness from the tree. And you turn to stand facing the tree. And you hug the tree, feeling your gratitude for all you've received, and feeling the blessings of the tree flowing into you. And then thanking the tree again and the spirit of the tree, you just gently walk away from the tree, bowing to acknowledge it, knowing you can return at any time. And then gradually, as you start to walk away, you start to become aware of being seated in front of your screen, letting go of the image of being on the island, being with the tree, just letting that dissolve as you become fully present of being here now, seated in front of your screen. And then maybe to ground the experience, you might want to type in a word. Thank you, hanging laundry. I didn't know that permaculture culture used those terms. How lovely. Yes. Oh, I keep missing the... Stefan Hosinski, thank you. Collecting oaks of distinction in the Munster area. A mast year, is that a year when there are lots and lots of seeds? You're a registered seed collector. I didn't know that existed. Creating refuges as I go. Bravo, that's lovely. That reminds me of, what's his name? The chap who was called... we've dedicated our Sacred Grove booklet to him. He started the Man of the Trees movement. Richard St. Barb Baker, and he was a Druid, and he just always had seeds in his pocket, tree tree seeds, and he was just great. Yeah. Oh, lovely. That's great to hear. That's great to hear. Anki, Philip, I hear you say often, give your troubles to the earth or tree, just like that. I should ask first if I am allowed to do so. Yes. Yeah. I think as well, I agree with you in one sense, but I also sense in nature, particularly in letting our tensions go, it's easy for us to become aware of our tension and our trouble as some kind of pollution that we don't dare to let go of. And I think that can be quite problematic, and can lead to a kind of holding on at some level. And there's a way in which I believe that the earth, of course, doesn't want our physical pollution. But I don't think our sadness and our tension is pollution. I think the earth is like this incredible transformative being, and I think we can freely let our tensions not off, I think you get the idea. That's my belief anyway. But thank you for bringing it up. It's forced me to look at it in the moment, and that's how I feel. Okay, but I'm not saying that that's true. I'm just sharing how I feel. Okay, lovely. Let's have a look. Some more comments here. I collected last fall an old chestnut tree seed. There was some beautiful, huge chestnuts, Rebecca, on Brownsea Island as well. Yes, I mean, if you yeah, and then Anki replies, but even then, ask permission. Yeah. Asking as a courtesy, yes. Once in a while, there's a clear no. At the beginning, do you remember we went up to the tree and we asked the tree? And sometimes you're quite right. It's very interesting to do that in the forest. And sometimes you get a tree that says, no, I don't want to deal with you. I'm busy at the moment. So we have Men of the Trees here in Australia. It's now called 1 Trillion Trees. And you can, yes. Yeah, Louise, there's an interesting story. My old Druid teacher knew Richardson Barb Baker. He was a Druid. Yeah. Let's have a look. Yeah. Robert Friend, is he? Yeah, and it has that kind of uplifting quality, doesn't it? When you look at a pine tree, it uplifts you, and there's this connection of yes. Well, lovely. Thank you, everyone. Really good to be with you, and I look forward to being with you next week. Let me just check if I'm going to be here next week. Yes, I am. So that's lovely. I really look forward to seeing you, and have a lovely week. Much love and many blessings to you. Okay, bye.